Do you really wonder that there is a model associated with the service delivery or the cloud computing resources that are delivered to us via internet? In this session, we will study about the cloud computing service models. So at the end of this session, you will understand how the cloud computing is categorized based on service delivery. And we will reflect upon three different types of service models. That is software as a service, often called as SaaS, platform as a service, called PaaS, and infrastructure as a service, called IaaS. So let's try to look at what this service model is. So cloud service models are categorized based on the cloud computing. That is how we define a service is delivered to us, or it is managed by the provider and customer. So it is very important to understand that how the service is delivered and managed to us are distinct in terms of how it is being provided by the provider and how as a customer or we manage them. So as I told you, they are categorized as software as a service, SaaS, platform as a service, PaaS, and infrastructure as a service, IaaS. To understand this service model, let's start with an example. Let's say you want to eat a pizza with your family. So what are the options that we have at hand? The first option is that we will make a pizza at home. So if you see the entire stack, you see that you are responsible to get all your ingredients done. You are responsible to create a pizza dough, and then you bake your pizza and then have it or enjoy it with your family with a soda can. So this stack represents the traditional or the on-premise service. What are the other options we have? The other option that we have is just to get your minimal ingredients from the market. You can also get a pre-made pizza dough, bring it to your home, and then just bake it and enjoy it with your family. So that's what we call it, take and bake. And it is also known as the infrastructure as a service model. And the next option we have is we get our pizza delivered. We get our pizza delivered from a delivery service, and then we enjoy nicely with our family. And what is the last option? The last option we have is we just go together and dine out and enjoy our pizza with a soda can, and we do it outside. Everything is done outside. We don't do anything. We just pay, enjoy our pizza, and come back home. So if you see this premise of infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, in this example is clearly evident. So if you see, if I'm just talking about take or bake, so we are offloading some portion of it. We are buying the stack which is shown in orange from outside, and we are managing some of them ourselves, which is in blue. Similarly, if we talk about the pizza being delivered to us, we are just responsible for eating the pizza at our home. But if we talk about the last one, the dining out option, everything is done or managed by the pizza store. We just go there, enjoy our pizza, and come back. So let's see what is the parallel which is there in our cloud service model. So if you see this stack, which I just took an example of the pizza delivery model, the similar stack is available to us in cloud as well. Let's try to look at each and every component. So imagine you want to host an application. To host an application, what is the first thing which you will get? So you need the servers to host your application. Just because your application or the computing power will be delivered to you via internet, so you need networking components and internet here. So you got networking layer and servers, and definitely you need to have a storage associated with this. So all these three together becomes your physical hardware. And then what is the next one? The next thing is we will do virtualization. So virtualization is a software that makes computing environment independent of the physical infrastructure. So virtualization is the core of cloud. The entire concept of cloud is built on virtualization. So what we do is we take the physical hardware, we introduce something called virtualizations, we spin up different machines. So we spin up different machines which is sitting on the same physical hardware servers, but we have multiple machines now. And just because we have multiple machines, we have the liberty to run different OS on that machine. The host or the physical hardware is different or independent of these virtual machines. Then now, if you see the runtime and the middleware, so what we have on the top is our application and data. And on the bottom, we have our physical hardware, virtualization, and the OS layer. Now the middleware is responsible for the communication between the operating system or the virtual machine to our application and data. And what is runtime here? Runtime here is how we manage our application. Where do we host our application? For example, if we want to host a web application, we can use Microsoft IaaS, we can use Apache Tomcat, and we can use other providers which are available. this is how the whole stack is defined in our cloud model. Now, if you see this stack carefully, can I say that the last 4 layers from the bottom, the physical layer and the virtualization, this actually becomes a part of your infrastructure. And the next 3 layers, if you see the operating system, middleware, and runtime, they become your platform. And the last 2 layers are nothing but your software. So if you see clearly, I've marked the infrastructure layer, the platform layer, and the software layer. Let's go and talk about the service model now. So this is the traditional on-premise service model. That means you are responsible to manage the entire stack. And what happens in your infrastructure as a service model? In your infrastructure as a service model, as I told you, the last 4 layers, networking, storage, servers, and the virtualization, this is managed by the vendor. Okay, just like in the example of pizza, you were having a pizza ingredients, you purchase the pizza ingredient and the pizza dough, you bake the pizza and then have it you were enjoying with your family. Similarly here, in the infrastructure as a service, the last 4 layers are managed by the vendor. The top 5 layers, they are actually managed by you. Let's try to understand this thing. So what is infrastructure as a service? So infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, provides computing resources such as servers, storage, networking, and virtualization on demand. So this is provided to us on demand by whom? By the provider. So the cloud service provider hosts, maintains, and updates the infrastructure. So we don't want to maintain or update anything. It is the responsibility of the provider. While the cloud service consumer, we installs, configures, and manage the software, including operating system, middleware, data, and applications. So just because as a consumer, we are responsible for operating system, what we are responsible for is we are responsible for patching the operating system as well. For vulnerabilities, there can be some fixes, there can be some updates. So all this is managed by us. Similarly for the middleware as well. Now let's go next. So the next thing is the platform as a service. So the platform as a service, so we have the bottom 4 layers for the infrastructure. The next 3 layers, as I talked about, was for your platform. In the platform as a service architecture, now the vendor manages all the virtualization or the hardware layer, plus it also manages your runtime, middleware, and operating system. So you just have to get everything done at the environment built for you. You just host your application and you just manage your data. That is what we call as a platform as a service. We'll look at some of the examples in next slides. So let's define it. The platform as a service provides a complete, ready-to-use cloud-hosted platform for developing, running, maintaining, and managing applications. Right? You need a bit of a coding here because you are actually developing your application, but you don't need to manage your operating system, the middleware. It is provided to you. So the cloud service provider offers the infrastructure, middleware, and development tools. And the cloud service consumer, that means we, uses the platform to create and deploy applications without worrying about the infrastructure. That is the beauty of it. So let's see the next one. The next one is software as a service. So if you see in the software as a service, what we get from the provider is the entire software. So we don't manage anything. If you see, everything is managed by whom? By the service provider. So we just use the application. We just pay for the application what we use. Okay, so we don't manage anything here. So let's see the definition of it. The software as a service provides software applications over the internet, such as email, CRM, and productivity tools, etc. There can be many applications which works in this realm. The cloud service provider manages the software, including updates, security, and performance. This is very important, performance, because as a provider, as a software provider, I have to manage. I mean, the software, the cloud vendor has to manage the performance as well. We will take a deep dive into in the later sessions. And then as a consumer, I access the software via web browser or an application and pay for the user or subscription. Let's take look at an example of some of these. So for the infrastructure as a service, as I told you, we have the physical servers and then we have a virtualization layer on top of it. So what we get is, here the example, the Amazon EC2, which we call Elastic Compute Cloud. So this is a virtual machine which is given to us by Amazon. The next example is Microsoft Azure VM. And the third one is IBM Virtual Cloud Servers. So these are example of infrastructure as a service. Consider this having a virtual machine given to you by the provider. Over here, you can install your middleware, your operating system, and everything on top of it, and then you can manage. Then the next thing is platform as a service. Some of the examples here are for Salesforce, Google App Engine, and QuickBase. So in the platform as a service, what we need to worry about is we need to worry about only the application and the data. So for example, if I talk about the Google App Engine, the Google App Engine is a platform which is given to us where it gives us almost everything. It provides us kind of a runtime, and we just choose the language which we want to code in our application and then use this direct platform. So we don't need to worry about anything underneath. So similarly, the next example we have is a software as a service where we don't use anything. We just subscribe to, pay for the services, or even sometimes the services are free to use. For example, Facebook. We don't use anything, right? We just subscribe. As a user, I just log into Facebook and use the platform. Similarly, PayPal. Another example is our Google email, right? Some of the services may be paid. For example, PayPal. Some of the services are paid and some of the services can be free. But in the context of software as a service, usually we pay something to the service provider. So this is a quick bit what we understood today. We understood what are different service models. The software service model where we don't manage anything. It's a subscription model for the software where the entire software stack is managed by the provider. And then we have platform as a service where we understood that the platform, that means the middleware and your hardware, is managed by the service provider, where we manage only the application and the data. The infrastructure as a service, IaaS, is your hardware is actually managed by your service provider, and the middleware, your application, data, and everything is managed by you. So now we understood the service is delivered, how it is delivered to us via each service model, and we know what is the boundary of ownership. This is really important in cloud. In all these three service model, we clearly should understand, what is the boundary where the vendor will work and what is the boundary where the customer and we as a customer are responsible to manage.